Few Goldilock Bears podcast with Vincent Cloud.
John Nemitz.
And David Lauer.
Oh man, and this is the show where we talk about loves and hates and indifferai, which is many indifferences. I don't know, but we do
So
that.
many indifferences.
The gray areas in life. Maybe we don't know. Maybe we're torn about a certain topic. But before we do any of that, though, we talk about old stuff, old topics, and we follow them up called the Deja Fuse. And I have one. We were talking about the Olympics. I think, Dave, you were indifferent to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they had the Olympic trials on TV the other day. And that was just to go to the Olympics. I didn't realize that they filmed that or anything like that. I just assumed the team that were going to go to the Olympics knew ahead of time for like a full 4 years. I didn't know that they were like figuring out who's going to Paris yesterday. You know what I'm saying?
I know
Yeah,
what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
for like
weird.
individual sports, I guess it makes sense. But for like the team sports, it's very strange. Like if you're going to play basketball with somebody and you've never played with them before, like that would be incredibly difficult. But I do think in like different countries, like in Europe, I think some of the basketball teams, they kind of know who's going to make it and they play together. While like the American team, they kind of just pick it and throw them together, and then they practice for a couple weeks and then they go out there and play.
Yeah. I mean, there's like 8 dudes who know how to play basketball in Germany, for example. So like they're going to be on the team.
Oh man.
Actually, I think the gymnastics Olympic trials are going to be here in Minneapolis this weekend. So like for the entire country, but for some reason they're having their tryouts here.
Wow. Are you going to go, John?
Um, my wife has brought it up as an interest, but then she's also terrified of like seeing someone land on their neck and being paralyzed for life. So she's like, I don't want to. That's too stressful to watch.
Does that happen often? I've
No, I
I've
don't
never
think
heard
so.
of that.
But it could happen, which is what's important.
You could you might be able to see Simone Biles, but
Yeah, that's what she
what's her
said.
name?
Yeah, Simone Biles.
You made it sound like a dumb joke.
She retired.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, I
That's
think
what
so
I
at
said.
least. Oh, well, like Vince talked over you and I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, no. I'm saying when my wife said we might see Simone Biles around, I said, like, is she still active in the sport? And she said, I think so.
Yeah.
I said, if you say so.
She was married to a NFL player, Jonathan Owens, and he played for the Packers last year.
Oh,
So like
shit.
she was at like every Packer game last year.
Oh,
And
really?
then now he's signed as a free agent, I think with the Chicago Bears. So now
Oh,
she's going to be in
no.
Chicago in all those games.
Ugh.
But it's just funny because everyone makes fun of it. It's like, she's like the famous wife, but like nobody knows her husband. Like everyone's like, who? Jonathan Owen? Like, we don't know that guy.
Oh, shit. Yeah,
It's
so
like
odd.
Taylor and what's his name?
Yeah, exactly.
The luckiest Swifty in the
Like,
world, whatever
I'm
you
not
call him.
even like joking. Like, I'm struggling to think of his name. I think is it Jason something? He has a
That's
brother.
his brother is Jason, but
Oh,
he's
okay.
Travis Kelsey.
Travis. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, right. But yeah, the Olympics. When do the actual Paris Olympics happen? Like, how long do these people that I just saw yesterday, they're like, oh, we're going to Paris. How long do they prepare now?
I mean, it's Summer Olympics, right? So it can't be that long. Couple months. I don't know.
Wow, so odd. Crazy.
Here, search engine Olympics when?
Oh my gosh, I could hear him typing.
like I don't even pay attention to the Olympics at all, but I think I like enough stuff on social media of like sports that it like just feeds me Olympic stuff thinking that I'll like it. And like I said, I'm indifferent to it. I don't really care. But like I feel like every like couple years it kind of sucks me in a little bit where I'm like at first I'm like, oh, I don't care. But then once social media keeps shoving it in my face every day, then I slowly start to care. Then I slowly start to like know, oh, I've seen that person before. I've seen their face. And then I just like hop on the bandwagon. So this is I'm interested to see. I'm not gonna like seek it out, but I wonder if I'm gonna like start becoming more of a fan. It's something to monitor.
Starts literally like a month from now. So
What?
obviously
Wow.
they've all been training this entire time, but yeah, to the point about like team sports, that's not a lot of time to gel as a team, I would think.
When was the last time you were part of a team, John?
Does doubles ping pong count?
Absolutely.
Then a couple of years ago.
Oh my God, real quick. I love the stories of like the volleyball women teams. I'll watch that. I like volleyball and they just so happen to be scantily clad, but still they're amazing athletes. But then the commentators talk about it like they hate each other off season and shit like that. Like they convince, let's try it one more time. Let's go for one more medal and stuff. And it's so odd that they just hate each other. Like you hear about that in music, like bands and stuff, but I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that would happen with sports. Yeah, crazy. Should we get the show started? Eh? Let's I'll
You
start. How about
betcha.
that? I'm gonna set it off here. Let's talk about hearing loss. I said hearing loss.
Dave and I both very adultly like resisted the urge to be like, huh? But you
Yes,
just
that
forced
was.
What?
the issue.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my grandpa had a hearing aid. I remember that growing up because he worked as a mechanic, and you know how loud that shit is. Um, I have tinnitus, which I think they're like, oh, it's early hearing loss or whatever. I'm like, ah, shit, that sucks. Because like randomly, I'll hear a little ringing, like a little, and then it'll go away. I'm like, whoa, that's not good.
I couldn't even
Um,
hear that. My hearing is so bad.
so certain sounds seem to just pierce through things. Like I could hear a cricket from the hallway, like it's as if it's like right next to me. You know what I mean? It sucks. It's very choosy, it seems, but certain tones and stuff just attack me, it seems. Um, what sucks is that this could also be from earwax buildup, and that can be common because a lot of us don't use Q-tips like they're meant to. You tend to go in just a little bit more than you should, more than you said, more than the tip. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not
I
good.
think they always say like, oh, you're not supposed to put the Q-tips in that far. And it's like that's literally how you design them.
Right.
But people like injure themselves because you have a dangerous product, and then they're just like, well, you're not supposed to put them in that far. That's too far. It's like,
Yeah, actually, that would have been a good one for when I was talking about I hate products that are known to be bad for you. Like Q-tips are a prime example. I remember
yeah,
my doctor telling me one time, like, you shouldn't put anything in your ear larger than or smaller than your fist. Like, okay. Yeah, the point is you shouldn't put anything in your ear at all. He was
Wow.
just saying it in a clever way that makes me
if your
remember it.
proctologist tells you that, you're like, whoa.
uh and then it's due to perhaps loud music. Sometimes you like your music loud and you want to thrash or whatever. I like headphones personally because I could pick up the fine details of stuff. However, this is kind of a deja vu when I was talking about listening to music over and over and over again until I no longer pick up those little details in the song. They're all just kind of like, eh. they kind of mix in together. Maybe that is hearing loss as well. I don't know. Um, but and then a few more things, or a couple more things. Like I can't do the bar anymore. Like it's way too loud. Or I'm like, seriously, like how did we ever stand being in bars with that loud of music? But that's like an older person thing. And again, I think that's just hearing slowly going away from us. And but fortunately, there's going to be some technology I just heard about. They're like, oh, this is going to revolutionize bringing hearing back almost. I don't know. I should have did more research, but what do you guys think about hearing loss?
Have you ever
I think
listened to those videos where they play like higher and higher tones, or maybe they start at the top end and they work down, and they're like, if you're in your 30s, you probably can't hear this one anymore. If you're in your 40s, you probably can't hear this one anymore.
That's
And
sad.
so we just like lose entire like frequency ranges, like everyone does, even if you don't have any sort of abnormal hearing loss.
John, didn't you say your dad really can't hear?
Yeah, he has pretty poor hearing from working in a factory his whole life. Um, yeah, I brought that up when we were talking about loud talkers,
Yeah.
because like as a result, like you have to talk loud around him. I think he has hearing aids now, and that helps a lot. But yeah,
Oh,
I
for a while he didn't want to get the hearing aids.
yeah, like when he was still working, he was just like, I'm gonna just like figure out how bad the damage is gonna get, and then like deal with hearing aids after the fact, basically.
Jesus. Oh my God. Uh,
I wear like earbuds all day, every day, so I do worry about that causing issues in the long term. But I still do it.
what about you, Dave?
I don't totally understand it because like what you were saying about like being in a bar and like hating how loud it is. I feel like if we're losing our hearing, the loudness shouldn't bother me. But
That's the other thing. It does. It actually starts to hurt in a way. But go on. Sorry.
so yeah, it's because I hate the loudness of a bar and loud people, like I've said before. And for whatever reason, like as I get older, I hate loud things. But at the same time, if I'm watching TV, I'm always like, turn it up, turn it up. I can't hear that.
Oh, really?
So I don't, yeah, I don't know. It's like it's kind of like
Well,
the three bears in the porridge, It's, I don't want it too loud,
I
not too
don't. I've never
quiet.
heard of that story.
I think it's like you can't pick up like the nuance and the differences between sounds as much anymore. So like when you're younger, maybe you can hear the quieter of, you talking with your buddies, you can hear what they're saying better. But then as you lose your hearing, it just blends in with the background noise, which makes it more annoying or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And always having subtitles on the TV, like just in case I didn't hear them. I'm like, oh, now I can read it.
Oh man. That kind of reminds me of like, everything blended in. The band Tool, there was a video and he was like, yeah, the worst part about us nowadays when it comes to mixing our music, because we can't hear anything. Like we're all deaf in this fucking
Oh
band.
man.
That sucks.
I know when I was at Rockfest a couple years ago, um, it was like Pantera was there, and Pantera is like one of the like loudest metal bands from like the late 80s and 90s. And my buddy Jonathan and I were watching Pantera, and we listened to like three or four songs, and we had pretty close up seats. And it was so loud, it was miserable. And this was like at an outside festival. It was so
Yeah.
fucking loud. We both had earplugs in, and it was so fucking loud. It was unbearable. I was like, I'm getting a headache. So like we just go and like refill our beers, and we walk up to like the top of the hill, which is like 1,000 feet away, and we're standing up there listening. We're like, holy shit, this sounds really good. Like they're good. Like we loved them, and we're like, this is a really good performance. But like when you're right up next to the speaker, you can't tell. It sounded like shit. But being really far away, I was like, oh my god, these guys are good. I see what all the hubbub is about.
Oh man. Well, yeah, I really wish I would have wrote down whatever the new technology is for the hearing loss. But that's good news. It also kind of annoys me where I'm like, oh, well, that means Vince, you're gonna keep listening to loud music just because you know there's a cure at the end. Yeah, that's where my thoughts started to go. I'm like, oh shit, don't do it, Vince, don't do it. I know you.
There's always some
Uh,
excuse to just keep doing what you're doing.
it's terrible, man. Segue challenge.
Let's turn down the volume on this topic and switch up the balance to the next one.
Oh, real quick, sorry. What is like? It really annoyed me that my CD player had bass boost. You know, even though I loved it as a kid, but I'm like, that probably really didn't help things. You know, my little CD player, shit.
I remember always pushing that. I'm like, I can't even tell a difference. Like, I think
Really?
it's broken. Yeah.
Or Beats by Dre apparently is like some of the loudest thumping bass you could wear. However, I've also heard that Skull Candy, which I wear, is just as good. It's just you're paying extra money for Dre, you know?
Yeah, I've definitely heard about Beats by Dre being overhyped and overpriced by multiple people in the know.
Skull Candy gave my ears diabetes. All right,
Lay off the sweets.
who wants to go next?
I'll go next. I'll follow up your hate with my love immediately. I love the album I Like Fun by They Might Be Giants. I'm a big fan of They Might Be Giants in general. In fact, talking about concerts, they were in town, not this last weekend, but the weekend before, and I actually saw them twice while they were here because they were playing 3 nights and they did 2 different shows. They did not play a single song from this album, and like
Oh.
I feel like probably no other fans would consider this to be their favorite album. Like everyone loves like the really early stuff, which I also love, but for some reason this one really sticks with me. I really like upbeat music where like the lyrics are, like surprisingly dark, and I think a lot of songs on here fit that. Um, this is maybe my favorite song, favorite album to put on a long drive and sing along to every song. Um, some of the the lyric examples I'm thinking of is like in the song "Push Back the Hands of Time." He says, broken glass is shimmering like diamonds. Can't hear yourself thinking over the sirens. Like talking about how he was like in this car accident, but it's like this super like upbeat, boppy song. And just like some of the stuff that I think is the lyrics are really funny and clever, like selflessly hiding all emotions inside. Nobody's figured out my 12 fatal flaws, stuff like that. Um, I'd like to say I learned something valuable today. I guess my murder remains are incapable of learning anything. Um, that stuff I really, and like just the rhythms of how he says them too. Like you wouldn't be able to think you could say sentences like that in lyrics of a song, but it sounds like really interesting, I think. Um, yeah, did either of you guys get a chance to listen to the album, and what are your thoughts?
I did. I listened to it twice. The first time I was like, this is like if Blues Clues was a band, just like, because he's super upbeat and he's, or at least that's the cadence,
Mhm.
and they're so kind of simple and like everything's kind of perky and catchy. Where it did seem like if I was a child, I'd be like, oh fuck yeah, you know. um, he does tend to have a bit of a Weird Al voice. That was a little distracting. But on my second watch, I was like, okay, whatever. I know his voice. And so I started to pay attention to more of the music. And but the thing that changed it up, I think it was in the middle, an insult to the fact checkers. It was
Mhm.
more aggressive. And that's what made me respond to it. And then Miss Bluebeard, I think it's the lyrics that like really stuck out. I'm not sure if this is how they went, but something about like ignoring nervous ticks and red flags. That is how it was brought up. Something like
Yeah.
that. I was like, oh shit. Like, yeah, I get that.
I
Oh
love
shit.
the piano rhythm in that song also. It's like
Yeah.
very syncopated.
What does that mean?
Just like the rhythm, like the time signature kind of changes up in like middle of measures and stuff.
Shit. Um, I like fun. I like the voice sample that's throughout that whole thing. Or maybe he's actually just singing that. And then the horn section was really good. Like I think I started to really get into the album the further it went along. Not to say that the first songs were bad or anything, but I just like, oh, this is getting a little bit better and a little bit better. And then Push Back the Hands has that funky dancey guitar, and the lyrics of the vocals though were less talky. That's the one thing. It's kind of talk singy to me sometimes, and that's
Hmm.
kind of like not my favorite. So I ended up liking Push Back the Hands. And then I wrote Lake Monsters, but not too much about why. But I said that maybe not the singing, but the music itself was really catchy, or the melody that he was singing as. So yeah, overall, I was kind of surprised, especially on the second. I'm glad I gave it a second chance, John.
I'm glad too.
What about David?
Um, like when I listened to it, I was like shopping at Walmart and I put in my AirPods and was listening as I was shopping and like I didn't really care for it. I didn't like how they kind of like talk, like you were saying, Vince. It's kind of like them talking the lyrics. And that's not really my style. But like their lyrics are great. Like they're phenomenal lyrics. I don't really like the style of their music, but like the lyrics are awesome. They're well written. And like as I'm walking around Walmart, like listening to it, like listening to these dark lyrics, like with really like upbeat music that's kind of like happy and fun music. With the dark lyrics, I just felt like a serial killer or something. Like I don't know, it felt kind of weird. Um, and then once I got into my car, like once I left Walmart, I started to listen to their other stuff, and I felt like I liked their other stuff more than this album. When I was like in Walmart, I was convinced I'm like, this band 100% sings the song for the Big Bang Theory. Like I was convinced of it. And then I looked it up and it was actually the Bare Naked Ladies who sings the song for the Big Bang Theory. But this band does the song for Malcolm in the Middle. And
Yeah.
I had no
Whoa.
idea. And I was like, oh shit, that totally makes sense. And like that song is like incredibly iconic. And I think it even won like a Grammy or something for like best original song for a TV show.
I like that
Um
song. Wow.
yeah, it's really good. I'm so like I didn't care for this album that much, but I felt like a lot of the other songs from other stuff I actually enjoyed more. But I'm not like maybe it's because I the more I listen to them and their style and I got used to their style, then I started to like the music more as the more I listened to it.
And where does this like in their catalog? Is this sort of like in the middle or their later years?
Definitely later. Like I think their first album was in like 87 or 88, and this is from like 2017 or 2018. So they for a while they weren't really putting out albums, but they had this thing called Dial a Song where they just had like a phone number that you could call and they had like a song would play on an answering machine or something. And um they just did that for quite a while and then put out a bunch of albums that were just those songs put together, and this is one of them.
Wow. What's the difference between like the younger stuff and like this? Like,
Um,
do you understand why the fans would maybe like that more or something?
I don't know, it's just like they were most popular in their early days, and it's like, oh, these are the songs I know them for. But yeah, I definitely admit it's an unpopular opinion to like I don't think a lot of their fans have even heard like some of these later albums, let alone like would consider it to be their favorite.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, like I fucking talked about the White Album and like I totally understand why some people don't like it at all. So, yeah, it's fine.
But yeah,
Segue.
to your original point, like they have actually put out like children's albums, and they've had songs that were like on Animaniacs and that stuff. So um that I don't think they shy away from being like kid-friendly music for sure.
Holy crap. I was right. That's awesome. Who knows? Maybe I mean, I know I heard Malcolm, but I've watched plenty of Animaniacs. Holy crap. Oh, what other album would you recommend?
Um so I think like Flood is like their second or third album, and that's like the one that I think most people would call out as their best album, perhaps.
The Posers.
No, I'm not saying that.
Uh, well, I want to be a dirty poser. I might check out Flood. Because like I said, like it was the talk singy stuff. It's not like I hate it because I've enjoyed other songs like that, but like I liked what they were doing with that music, so I'm still interested. Segue challenge. Um,
This
you know,
might be a new topic from Dave.
let's go.
So I'm gonna talk about my love. I love home improvement stores. I have nothing prepared for this. I'm just gonna talk a little bit off the cuff. Like, I feel like I don't know. I live by like a Lowe's, so it doesn't matter like what store specifically. You could live by Home Depot, Menards. There's like an Atwood store, which is like a farm supply, like a farm and fleet type of store. Like I love home improvement stores as an adult. Like I hated them when I was a kid, but I just fucking love them because I can walk around them and just spend hours looking at stuff because they'll just have aisles of parts for things where it's just like, oh, if I need to have like a leaky like sink and I want to look at pipes for under my sink, I can just like stare at different parts and like try and learn something about it because there's a million things and I don't know how to do any of it, but I'm super fascinated by all of it. I'm like, man, I could do this myself. And you try and like talk yourself into it, like, yeah, I just need some of this and some of this, and I'll buy some of these and I'll put it together and I'll make it work. And inevitably, like anytime you have a project, you have to go back to the hardware store 3 or 4 times to get stuff that fits and the right size, and you end up buying too much stuff because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Um, but I find myself on like at least once a month, I'll go to Lowe's when I just want to buy one thing, but I will want to walk the entire store or just about all of it until it gets to like the lumber section and like the doors in the back corner. Like and I don't dare go by the appliances because there's salesmen back there and they try and sell you on stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I just love these kind of stores. Do you guys like walking around them?
John,
Hate
you
it.
own a house. Oh, you hate it?
Yeah, because it's always like I'm only there because I have to do some shitty project in my house. Like, and like you say, you have to go back 2 or 3 times, and I never know how to find stuff in there.
Oh, it's
And
impossible. Even the employees don't know where anything is.
yeah. And like I'm just like, oh my God, this is my fourth time here. I just want to get in and out. I don't want to have to like, do this scavenger hunt to find this thing. Um, in fact, like there's a smaller hardware store that's way closer to my house, and they charge way more for stuff, but I just tend to go there because I'm just like, there's only like 8 aisles. They're only going to have one option for the thing I need. I'll just like pay the premium and not deal with the hassle of going to Home Depot or Menards or whatever.
Oh yeah, you worked at Menards, Dave. Is it? Do you get like fucking flashbacks when you enter another Menards?
Well, I really haven't gone to a Menards because I live down in Oklahoma now, but I don't like Menards at all. I think most of their stuff is like just cheap junk for the most part, but I don't know. I think all of
But
them are kind of that way.
their CEO is a great guy, at least.
That guy's an asshole. Even his family hates him. Like when all
Whoa.
of your kids are like, I fucking hate that guy, we don't talk anymore. Uh,
For years,
like,
I thought it was that dude in the commercials. You
yeah,
know,
me too. I
I
was
thought that was Mr.
disappointed.
If
Well,
only.
no, because like I thought he was Mr. Menard, but then people, roommates of mine would work and he's like for him and he's like, oh, he's a fucking prick. I'm like, that guy's a prick. Oh, that's unfortunate. That's what I thought for the longest time. I'm like, oh, damn it. I liked him.
Funny.
I don't own a house, but I want to within like a year or two. Like that's the goal. Um, but until then, I don't know. I've been to Menards. I've never been to any of the other places because this is Wisconsin, right? Like, doesn't Mr. Menard like own the entire state or something like that?
Well, like everything to like Madison and Milwaukee area is all like Home Depot, but yeah, Menards reach goes down to like Wisconsin Dells area and north.
I did like Menards the last few times I went there because they basically started to sell food and shit, like an actual, like a,
Oh yeah.
like almost like a Walmart or something. I'm like, hey, they sell a big bag of nuts. Like that's cool. Yeah.
There's an infamous 2-story Menards in St. Paul, and they have this like escalator ramp that goes from the first floor to the second floor, but it like locks the wheels of your cart in place. So you just have to like chunk onto it, and then you just like stand there for a minute and a half to go from the first floor to the second floor. It's horrible.
I think I saw something like that in the Mall of America. It wasn't a Menards, but it was something like that.
Wow. Pics or it didn't happen, John. I need to next time you're there, take a picture, man.
All right,
Because
I'll take a.
I can't even picture it.
But they do have like a piano there, and they'll like have actual humans playing the piano sometimes, which is nice.
Should go on there, John. A few of those notes you remember.
You
Hmm.
walk in and they're like, "What can I help you find, sir?" I'm just here for the piano bar.
uh
Yeah, I one thing that I like about Lowe's is on they have an app on your phone, like every place does, but I can search whatever I'm looking for on the app, and then it will tell you what aisle it's in. So like that saves me like every time because then I can actually know where to go, and like it can still take a while to find something, even if you know the aisle, but it's better than trying to go down multiple aisles.
I've
does
also been annoyed because there's been products like so these stores are gigantic, right? So there's like a product I go there to buy. They don't have it, but they're like, "Oh, you can order it online and have it shipped to the store." And it like how do you have all this space and not have this thing here? And like I just have to go online shopping anyway.
Yeah, I like, and why did they do that? And they're like, yeah, you can have it shipped to the store and then you'll come and get it. And it's like, why don't I just give you my address and you ship it to my house? And they're like, it doesn't work that way.
Does Lowe's or Home Depot have that stupid turnstile thing that Menards
No,
has, where it's like,
I
why do
hated
you
that
have
thing.
this? Yeah,
I would hit myself in the nuts how many times on that damn thing.
just by looking at it, you were like, "Ugh."
You gotta
So
like turn
defiant.
sideways so it hits your thigh.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that Menards. Telling you. Segway challenge. Do we take the turnstile of a next topic? Mhm.
You get hit on the nuts going through it or on the ass on the way out.
I believe I am up now. Let's do accents, I suppose. I love accents, guys. That's why I was so hesitant to choose that one. Um, I'm just looking at this and I realize I barely wrote anything down. So I'll just say that I like the Russian accent, the broken English, like little comrade. I like if I come across that in real life, like I am kind of spellbound. I'm like, oh, that's fucking cool, man. And like this, I remember this girl was from Russia and she was working at our place, but we went out for drinks. A bunch of us did. And I was playing pool and I'm like, oh, I missed it by a quarter of a centimeter or something like that, right? And she actually liked that because I didn't say like, oh, I missed it by an inch or something like that, you know? So she's like, let's take shots. I'm like, all right. But I don't know. I love the Russian broken English. I love the fucking Boston where they're dropping the ahs and shit like that. That is just, it's almost kind of funny to me. I think it's a very funny thing when they're dropping their R's, although there's plenty of badass movies like The Departed, you know, shit like that. The Californian fry is kind of annoying. I don't know, you ever notice like they're like it sounds like their vocal cords are fried and shit. Like it's so bizarre, and I don't really care for it. And I'm glad that actors lose that when they're on screen. They don't talk like that. You know what I mean?
It kind of sounded like Pauly Shore.
Oh yeah.
Perfect California guy, right?
Oh yeah. And then I do this far too often, and I feel kind of annoyed by myself. But when I want to portray ignorance, I do this southern accent, and I really want to stop it because, like, I've like Dave before you moved, like we know a friend. He's from the dirty South, as he called it, Arkansas. JT, JPTP, or whatever he's called on Facebook, and he's intelligent. He just sounds like this, so it's kind of hard to take him seriously sometimes when he has opinions. But you know.
It's just your own prejudice.
Oh, and
Yeah, I
then
don't
oh,
like. I don't know.
one
Like,
more.
okay,
Liverpool, the Beatles. That's another, but it's just so specific. There's only those four people. I've never heard of anyone else with a Liverpool accent like that. But go on. Yeah.
I was gonna say like Jeff Foxworthy with like he had stand-up jokes where you talk about like the Southern accent, which he has, and he's like, if you were like going in for brain surgery and your surgeon had a Southern accent, you're like you would run the hell out of there because he's like, you don't want your surgeon to come in. You're like, well, what we gonna do is we gonna cut this off right here, peel that back, and then we're gonna pull these out, and
We're
just
gonna root
sounding like
around
a
in there.
yeah, if you sound like a NASCAR driver, like I don't know, there's something about it that just seems like it's not very smart. But like I don't know, it feels terrible though because when I hear like a British accent, everything they say, no matter how stupid it is, it sounds smart to me, and I don't understand it.
Oh god.
I
Have you
used
guys?
to work in tech support for like international companies. So we'd have customers calling in from all over the place. And I like to work the early shifts where in like the UK was still online. And we had like a big um telecommunications company from England who was a customer of ours. And we get on these conference calls and there'd be a bunch of guys on there and they'd all sound like different Monty Python people. It was so great. And like it was like all the different styles, like oh the deep bustling accent, and then like just like the like oh yeah, the nasally like all the different voices just coming together on this call. Like I can't do the accents, but it just like it was like my favorite thing to just be listening to them and then like, oh shit, I'm supposed to be actually like helping and something.
That's awesome. Was it Cockney? Isn't that what Michael Caine is? The Cockney
Yeah.
accent. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. You got like I remember running into a woman from Britain. Yeah. So she had like that accent and stuff, and I'm like, usually I'm on my guard when I think about the British. I don't know why historically, but like she was cool, and I've even met some other British dude. Yeah, there was like a bunch of exchange people uh that I partied with, and yeah, it was kind of cool to hear all those accents. It's just something different for fuck's sake. Break up the monotony of like, hi, I'm Vincent Cloud.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who's an ex coworker. He's from Ukraine, and he has like that Russian accent. So it's like his accent is so awesome, like you're saying, Vince. Like there's no describing it. Just you could hear him explain like how to take apart a VCR and put it back together, and you're just like, oh man, that sounds so badass. Like that's cool. Like everything he says just sounds fucking cool. Like, and you just like any advice that he has, you're like, shit, yeah. I don't know. It's just like I feel like I'm like a fan or like a groupie of a band, and I'm just like, okay, like whatever you say. All right.
That's great. What do
the
you think of your own accent?
I've tried to get away from it as much as I can. I remember in English class giving a presentation about something or another, and our teacher, Mr. Warchek, he like wrote on the thing like it's pronounced to, not ta. Like, oh yeah, you have to do this and then you have to do that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I do say it that way. And so then I just started thinking about what words do I say that are not like you would hear a news person saying them and try to minimize that.
Right, yeah, because news
Tell him to
news
mind your
reporters,
business.
yeah, well, that's the thing. Like news report or people on the news sound so odd. Like, all the humanity, whatever state they're from, has been sucked out,
Yeah.
and they're just like, this is the news. It's crazy. Except
I
for
do
that
love
Tom Brokaw guy.
like the accent from the movie Fargo. Like, obviously people in the Twin Cities don't talk like that, but if you get up past like St. Cloud and like other parts of Minnesota, like it's not that far off, honestly.
Uh, I wonder if people around this great nation of ours and the world, this great, the world, I wonder if they could just tell that we're originally from Wisconsin.
Hmm. I think definitely from around the nation they can. I'd be more skeptical of, people who speak English as a second language being able to tell. Have you ever heard like someone, like a British person doing a bad American accent?
I guess not.
Yeah, like I was like struggling for a long time to hear an example of it. And then I finally did. There's this John Cleese show, Faulty Towers, where he like runs a hotel or something. And there's an episode where these like Americans are there, but they're clearly like British actors. And it took me a while to realize like, oh, they're trying to do an accent and just failing. And I think they rely heavily on like the Texas kind of accent and they're trying to do that drawl and stuff, but it just was not like coming off like anything realistic at all. I'm like, oh, that's what it sounds like to hear your own accent done badly.
Remember Pacific Rim? the lead actor was like from Australia, but he was trying to be American, and it wasn't like it was bad, but I just knew it wasn't real. I don't know.
Mm.
It was like this weird in between where I'm like, that's not it.
Yeah, and there's sometimes where like the actors are not doing a bad accent, but the fact that they're having to do an accent just changes their performance overall, where it just makes them less natural in general, I think.
That's what,
Yeah.
yeah, I always thought like Hugh Laurie was like the greatest actor ever because once I figured out that Hugh Laurie was British and he was like faking that accent on House, it like blew my mind. And I'm like, this guy's, I thought he was great already, but then to realize that he's like faking an American accent that entire show is incredible.
Well, then clearly you weren't a fan of 101 Dalmatians, the live action movie.
Never seen it.
He was like, I don't know, one of the robbers or whatever. He was like, hello, grab a torch. Anything else on accents? There has to be an accent that I haven't brought up yet, or that we haven't brought up yet. That's just like awesome whenever you hear it.
Jamaican.
That is pretty good. Oh, uh, um, all the kids from Slumdog Millionaire, where their voice is kind of like it's got almost like a little bounce in it. I can't describe it. I can't do it, but I can't do it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
please try.
it was so adorable when they spoke, especially the little kids. It's like God, what Pakistan? I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I love like yeah, Indian and Pakistan and like Bangladeshi. Like I love all those accents. Those are great. Yeah, they're just so
Yeah.
like sing-songy kind of and yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I met a woman. Where was she? I don't know. But it was one of those things where like, oh, I'm clearly only gonna see this woman once. And yeah, she had that fucking accent. And I was like, oh, it's so lovely. It's so in the bounce. I don't know how to describe it. Do you get what I'm saying though? The little
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Dave. Any accents that that we haven't brought up yet? There's so much
Like
out there.
the Portuguese accent is really good for like Brazilian people or
Yeah.
Argentina. Like the South American accents are really cool. I like those a lot. They have like a very like warm quality to them where like when you hear because I always like listen to like Portuguese people or Brazilian like fighters in the UFC and I'm listening to their interviews and they're like the meanest person ever. But then you hear them talking and you're like, oh, they sound so nice. And it's just like it sounds like almost like romantic or something. They, they sound so kind when they're just talking in their home language. Um, so I like that. Another one I really like is like kind of like the Eastern European, but more like Romania or like Czech Republic, like that type of like Mediterranean accent is really cool sounding. It's like it's kind of has like that sultry tone to it and it's very like it's like harsh but smooth. I don't know. It's like both. I don't even know how to describe it, but it just sounds cool.
Uh oh, not to insult an entire continent. I believe it's continent. Australia? Hello. No, wait, no, that's more crocky, but like crikey. It's so it seems so absurd. And I think the world, if anything, probably thinks the same thing about American accents and Australians, because like those are like muddled up British at first English speaking things, and then they're like, we're gonna, talk however we want to. Fuck the Queen, shit like that. I don't know. It just seems like Americans and Australians just sound so annoying to me. I don't know.
So there's reason to believe that the way Americans talk is closer to how British people used to talk like hundreds of years ago. And they actually changed over there post colonization of America. Like there's been like research that indicates that like they purposely changed like their accents over time to diverge more from what it used to be than America did.
Was it because already they heard what was going on in America and they're like, oh no, it's
I mean,
trash.
it certainly could be
Oh,
that
gosh.
attitude that did it. Yeah. Um, but just, like I think American music and movies and TV is just so popular globally that I don't think people think American accents are weird. Like I think everyone's just so used to it.
All right,
One thing I
number
was
one.
gonna, I was also gonna say, I just from like learning languages kind of thing, I think it's really interesting to think about accents and like you can kind of guess things about how their language works based on what their accent is or like how they speak English. So like, like the Russian broken English, like they don't have a word for the or so like they just don't always remember to include it in when they're speaking English. Um, or like Japanese is really interesting because like there's only like so many syllables that Japanese words are made up of. And they only like, like the people always make fun of them mixing up R's and L's. It's because they only have one letter like that, and it's kind of like halfway in between an R and an L. So, like, of course, it's obviously confusing when you're learning a language that just has different sounds than what yours has. And like, it was um like learning like Japanese words like before I went over there, it just felt like a lot of the words for things that are like loaner words for them are the racist way you would say something like to make fun of them. Like like um for Ransu or something like that would be like how they say France because like everything has to be like a full syllable. Like um you can't like you just can't put two consonants next to each other in their language. So there's always like either a U or an O or something like dividing it all up. So that's why it sounds the way it sounds, because that's just the way their language works.
That's awesome. Wow. Uh, anything else? Segway challenge. Judging from our accents, we should go back to where, no, fuck. Uh, oh
We
wow.
should. I hope our next topic is elocution lessons, because
Electrocutions. See, again, I use the South. It's like the dumb. It's so bad. So bad. Because like when we were there, when I was in Oklahoma, there, Dave, no one was ignorant. If anyone was ignorant, it was the fuckers that drove down with me. They said the stupid shit. Holy fuck.
But it, no one in the South thinks Oklahoma is part of the South,
Oh, really?
and no one in the Midwest thinks Oklahoma is part of the Midwest, and no one out west thinks Oklahoma and like Texas disowns us. Like no one wants to be Oklahoma. We're kind of just our own thing, but we're
Wow.
like a mixture of the South and the Midwest.
Hmm.
That's funny. See, having one popular song about you, well, everyone hates you. It's that one song. Oh,
What's that?
Oklahoma, where the
Oh, the
no,
musical?
whatever the fuck.
The whole
Oh god.
musical
Yeah.
about them.
All right. John, you're up, I think.
All right. I hate shirts with like insulting phrases on them. Like, I don't mind shirts that are just like snarky or like ironic or stuff like that. But I hate the ones that are like specifically like insulting the person reading it because I mean that's me. I'm the one reading it. But um like I just don't I guess it's maybe getting the desired intent from the person, but I just think that's a shitty intent then. And like if you think that is making you seem cool, it just kind of makes you seem like an asshole, I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm too sensitive or whatever, but like, and it's just like there's a lot of them like in I work with a lot of nerdy people, and there's stuff like, "No, I will not fix your computer," like on a shirt. I'm like, okay, that's whatever. But and I realized like I was thinking specifically of one coworker I have and shirts that I've seen him wearing that were really triggering this as for something to bring up. One of them was something about like I have selective hearing, and today you're not on the list, or something like that. And then one of them had a list that said, look, white, Christian, straight, male. How else can I offend you? Oh my God.
Uh, oh my gosh. Well, I just want like I was trying to think of all the stupid shirts that I've seen that are just like that, but I couldn't really remember. But it's like, oh, we're we hate people, so we're gonna wear this. But it's like, no, if anything, you're welcoming a bad interaction with the people that you hate. You know what I mean? Like you're bringing that out of them. You fucking troll. I don't know. It just seems like a lot of work for trying to say, oh, I'm better or whatever. But like you're still gonna have to interact with the people that otherwise we wouldn't say shit or people wouldn't give you a look. It's so troll like, and oh, I
Yeah.
hate it so much.
I used
uh
to have a T-shirt when I was in seventh grade, so I was like 13 years old, and this is when like Kohl's department store, like the clothing store, they first came out with like T-shirts with funny sayings on them, and I had to get one, so I got one, and it was just a black shirt with white letters on it, and it said, "What's dumber, my shirt or you for reading it?"
Damn it.
And I fucking love that shirt. I wore it every day, like once a week in seventh grade. And my history teacher, he fucking hated that shirt. And every time he saw me, he would always look at me and he'd be like, your shirt is dumber."
I think the
And I
shirt
was just
proved him wrong.
like, and I was just like, why would you? I don't know. And in my head, I was just like, why are you responding to a shirt? Like, it's a joke, but like I don't take it personally, bro. It's just like some words on a t-shirt. But like I don't know. Like I've said before, like I would prefer to just wear plain shirts or something. Like I don't know. Because anything with like corny words on it, like I've had stuff like that and people will like stop and read it. And I'm like, don't, man, it's not that deep. Like, don't take your time to read it. Like, it doesn't matter.
Oh, I remember I wore a shirt and I loved it because it had to do with movies, so I wore it a lot, and it was something about like the casting couch. Now looking at
Oh no.
like what horrible shit happens with in Hollywood. I'm like, oh shit, I probably shouldn't wear this shirt anymore. But I think I might have like lost it by like a couple years, and then that came out. But I did feel like in retrospect, I'm like, nah, damn it, I shouldn't have wore that, insensitive prick that I was. And who knows, maybe all women were like, that motherfucker, fucking troll. Yeah. I don't know. It's I think you can, like again, I'm trying to remember shirts that got under my skin, but I can't, but I know I've seen them, and it's just the dude just like, what, oh, what, huh, attention. Fucking, I hate that shit. I hate trolls. That might be a future hate. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I know the specific type of person who wears these shirts now. And you always see these people and they're motorcycle riders. They always have a t-shirt with some fucking stupid saying on the back, or like the guys with the pickup trucks that have like the giant letters that are saying something.
Yeah,
It's that same thing, but you're wearing it on a t-shirt. It's the same vibe.
it's always the big fucking trucks that have the stupidest things. Yeah, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I like after you said this topic, John, like the next day, I went to this cookout and there was a person who had a t-shirt and it said be kind, and somebody else had a t-shirt and it said love anyways. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm like, that's good. Like, I don't know. I'm like, oh, it's like it was very peaceful and calming. And I'm like, this person's not an angry person trying to lash out at anyone. Like, I feel safe. And it was nice. I'm like, love anyways. Like, yeah, you can find something wrong with anything, but just fucking love someone anyways. Like, I like
So
that
nice.
message. And like, I always think that like if you have those kind of sayings like on your wall in your house, like live, laugh, love, I think that's the corniest shit ever. But if you put it on a hat or a t-shirt, I'm like, okay, then you're kind of projecting that out into the world, like positivity, and that's a good thing. So I like that.
Yeah.
I don't know why that just reminded me of this completely unrelated thing where it was like a picture of like some dude's apartment and it was like a folding chair and a TV or something, and like some girls were posting it and they're like, how can guys live like this? And then someone responded like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't think it was necessary to go to Crate and Barrel and buy 3 hearts that said live, laugh, love on them.
God.
Yeah, I've seen those memes where it's, you know, like the ideal male setup, and it's just the TV on the floor, the foldable chair, and then like a box of pizza and a case of beer and like a Nintendo 64. It's all you need.
Oh man. I always think like why like I wish they could just say these things instead of just wearing it on a shirt. Like fucking do you have thoughts of your own, you know? Like I would almost accept that more than just someone wearing a stupid shirt, you know? Because like maybe they never thought of that. They were just like, oh, it's a cool shirt or whatever. I mean, that there's a cool shirt. You know, I'd rather hear the asshole than just see him wearing a shirt. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Uh
the bait thing. Like, I'm just gonna have this thing and make someone else make the first move.
yeah. Segue? Challenge.
Um, a shirt says, "I'm with stupid," and it's pointing with an arrow towards Dave and his topic that's coming next.
And Dave says, be kind.
Appropriately, I don't remember my next topic because I'm stupid. I gotta look it up here. Okay. Oh, I got a good topic. This is my hate. Um, I hate it when people ask me if I need help. And like I've said in the past, I've never seen a therapist, so I'm gonna talk to you guys like you're my therapist, and you can tell me what the fuck is wrong with me. Because I hate it when people ask if I need help. It's like it bugs me and it like really grinds my gears. And not like, oh, do you need like financial help or something, like, hey, like, do you need a couple bucks to like pay for that? But like if I'm doing something at work, like something physical, say I'm like carrying boxes and I'm struggling to carry them and I'm like barely holding them up and people are like, hey, you need help with that? I fucking hate it. Like, if you see that I need help, then give me help. Like, don't ask me and then make me like, yeah, could you come over and help me, man? I'd really appreciate it. Like, if I wanted your help, I would ask you, or you could just be a nice person and help me out. But like, don't
And
just
then
stand over
be like,
there
don't fucking
watching.
touch my stuff.
Yeah. Like, don't just stand there and watch me struggle do something and not like help. Like, if you like, it's with anything, I don't know, it bugs me. And it happens all the time at work where I was bringing back some like extra equipment to the department, and the elevators are uneven, so there's like a bump to get over, so you have to like get some speed to get it to kind of jump over this little ledge. And I got a big monitor on 4 wheels in front of me, and then I have a C-arm x-ray machine behind me, and I'm pushing one and I'm pulling the other, and it's really big and awkward. And they're like, hey, you need help with that? I'm like, if you're got a free hand, like, come and help me. Like, don't ask me, because I'm just gonna be like, no, I'm good. You tell them like half the time I'll say no, I'm good, or I'll just ignore them and I won't say anything because I just roll my eyes at them. So I'm like, yeah, no shit, I'm struggling. Like this isn't easy.
Oh my God. How much do we charge an hour, John?
I haven't gotten any advice yet. Can't
Yeah,
charge me anything.
this was different than I expected. Like, I thought it was going to be like, I was going to talk about that hardware store I go to. Like, you walk in the door and they're like laser focused. Like, can I help you find something? I'm like, nope, been here before. Just gonna grab the thing I need. Like, you can
Yeah,
go hang
I
out.
agree with that. I hate it. I hate it when
But
I'm in a
like,
store and somebody out asks for help.
I feel like if I was struggling with these boxes or like this pushing one thing, pulling another situation, and someone asked me if I needed help, I would just be like, yeah, actually, like, can you grab that? Like, that one I don't understand. Like, I don't know. Like, I would feel like as the bystander asking for help or asking if you need help, like it's just kind of like invasive to come and grab a thing out of someone's hand. Like, oh, looks like you're struggling with this. You know what I mean? Like, uh, um, is it like, do they not seem like serious offers? Like, is that the problem? Or like, I guess yeah, that's what I'm not understanding. Like, if you need the
Uh,
help and they're offering, I don't see the problem.
I like because myself, I've never asked anyone if they needed help. I just go and help them. Like, and if you don't know how to help, then don't say anything. But like I work as part of a team, and part of doing that is just assessing the situation and trying to fulfill a need. Like, hey, I think if someone was over on that side and they held on to this, we could do this easier. You just kind of jump in and help. And it's always like people that I don't work with regularly, just like random other people. So like I'm used to like the group team dynamic that I work with every day where you just jump in and help. So when somebody outside of that is like, "Oh, do you need help?" It's like, "Well, yeah, I need help, but like I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't have to say, "Yeah, please help me." And some of that is probably just pride. Like I don't want to admit that I need help, but and that's probably all it is, but
So it's
I
like
don't know.
plausible deniability. Like, oh, they just came over and started helping. I didn't need the help. I could have done
Yes, exactly. I was doing
it.
fine on my own. Then they came over.
Okay, so outside of work though, because that might be a huge part, is that it's a work thing. What about outside of it?
Um, it's the same way outside of it because like I can be at home like cooking dinner, and my wife will ask like, "Do you need any help?" And I'm just like, I don't like it's the one thing that annoys me, and I don't know why, but it always annoys. It's the one thing that always annoys me. It's
What
like, do I need
if
help? It's like,
what
yeah,
if it
there's a
was more
pile of
specific?
dishes.
What if it was like, hey, can I cut those carrots or whatever? Instead of
Yeah,
just like, is it the lack of specificity or like at work, like, hey, can I grab one of those boxes from you? Like, would that help? Or
yeah. I
Help.
think you're onto something there because I think a big part of it is I'm struggling to do something, and for me to like stop and explain what I need you to do to help, it's just too much because I can't do two things at once. I can't like do something physical and talk at the same time. So
yeah, so
it's like,
you're already like struggling under like a physical burden, and now they're adding like a mental burden, like, hey,
yeah,
divide up this task in your brain and then assign me a role.
yeah. It's like, hey, why don't you preheat the oven to 350 and then take those rolls, the one on the in the freezer on the left side, and then pull those out, and we'll cook those, and then grab a frozen vegetable out of the freezer too. Like, if my brain worked that well and cohesively where I could multitask, then I probably wouldn't get annoyed. But Yeah, I think you're right. I think I get overwhelmed, and then it bugs me, it annoys me.
I was gonna, I think I wrote down maybe it's just that you don't want to be a bother. You know what I mean? Like me, I hate asking for help for the most part. I don't want to be intrusive. I want to be self-contained, you know? So that might be part of it, just that interaction of like, yeah, I am at this, I'm at a low point. I could use some help. It is hard to admit. Yeah. Like I don't
Yeah,
like asking for help. Yeah.
yeah. I like I've had, I guess another example of it was I was in a room with a patient, and this patient was like unconscious, and I was waiting until all the nurses got out of the room because you can't expose like all a bunch of people to radiation with x-ray. So I'm waiting for them to step out, and then they're like, okay, we're like, x-ray, we're ready for you, you can come in. So I come in, and they all left, and as the last one was leaving, they're like, hey, you need any help? And I just feel like, no, like I'm fine. And like that didn't bug me at all that she offered help. I thought it was kind of nice, but I know that they have a lot of other duties they need to do. They need to document so many things on their computer, or like go and get different supplies off of the cart, or like medications to fill. They got stuff to do while I'm taking an x-ray for 3 or 4 minutes. And then as I'm like, the patient was big, I'm struggling to put the board behind them. Then like the doctor pokes his head in to see what was going on. He's like, hey, you need any help in there? And that just like bugged me. And I'm just like, no, I'm good. And I'm like, if you really thought I was struggling so bad, like come and help me. But like, I don't know. It was two people in a row asked me if I needed help. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, do I suck at my job? Or like, what the hell is going on?
I thought you were going to say there was a patient in a coma, and they asked him, "Do you need any help?" You didn't say you needed help, so.
No, but this guy over here, you smell. I'm gonna do that. Next time somebody asks me if I need help, we're like, no, but this guy over here. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, so as a couple of doctors of the mind, Dr. John and I, we suggest, what do we suggest? Pills?
Electroshock? I don't know.
I've heard good things down here in the South about the electroshock therapy. Did wonders.
Oh man. Uh Segway challenge.
You need any help coming up with the segue?
No. Uh Me, right? Let's do the final. I'm indifferent to motivational speakers. I've I don't know if you guys had those people show up at school, or maybe you've done like a youth thing. I don't know that. What was it? In Eau Claire, they had some guy, but um, so they show up, and you know, you got all the kids, you know, you're like, you're out of your regular schedule, and you're just like, hey, what's up, you know, there's a bunch of people here. And then in comes this guy that needs to bring up all this energy in order to capture the attention of these kids. And sometimes it's just very cringe, man.
Good morning,
Sometimes
everyone.
I said good. You're like, oh no. Like there's old tricks that almost every motivational speaker has. To me, it's like they could still be good, but sometimes they do this stupid thing where they ask a question that they already know the punchline to. You know what I'm saying? They're just setting up some poor kid in the crowd to be like, oh, so what do you do? Oh, well, I bet that's not crazy. Or I don't know. Like it's stupid jokes. You know, I
All about
it's
living.
yeah. And I don't know. It's so weird. It's so weird to see a non-pro comedian try to get us to laugh, you know? It's oh, and I've seen some bad ones where like this middle-aged dude literally turned around and like, you know, transformed himself, turned around, put his baseball hat backwards and started to rap. It was so fucking bad. And I just like, I don't know about you guys, but you ever get like embarrassed for someone else or like you feel it, you're like, oh God, like I couldn't imagine all the prep work that went into this, and you're either dying on stage or you're getting some laughs, but you're trying way too hard. I don't know. It's so I don't want to say cringy way too much, but that just pops up in my head. Um, and the other thing, which is kind of a maybe part of this, is what's those diners where like they're chopping shit up in front of you and they're throwing meat in your mouth
Oh,
and
like Benihana.
yeah, I hate that shit. Because again, they're trying to be funny, and it's like, dude, just give me my goddamn steak. Like, I just don't get into it because, again, they kind of make fun of people too, where they're like, "Oh, you want? make I'm singling you out in front of your friends and girls and shit like that." I don't know. What do you guys think about
You ever
motivational
get home and
speakers?
your date is like, man, he totally emasculated you.
He tried to throw broccoli in your mouth 3 times.
I do like it when they roll the chicken egg down the spatula and they're like, egg roll.
It cracks me up every time.
Well,
I can't remember the last time I came across just like a general purpose motivational speaker. You know what I mean? Like we had in high school and stuff. Um, I go to a lot of like corporate events, so like conferences and sales kickoff events and that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of stuff like that, but they're typically like very well paid and actually like they have jokes that they know are going to land with the audience and like like they do as good of a job as someone's going to do and there's usually like some larger like they're also training you on some technique or um they have some other broader message in mind other than like don't do drugs or whatever like a normal motivational speaker is telling you about. So um like the ones that were just straight up motivational speakers like from school and stuff, I'm just like, oh well, I'm not in class right now, so whatever, this is fine.
Real quick, does like for work sometimes you have to take a CPR class or some shit, and then they'll show up and they got their fucking lines, they got their fucking like, oh, I'm gonna pick on one of you, and I'm like, you don't know our fucking dynamic, like you don't know that we all hate Tammy and you're just gonna make it worse. And
No, I think the boss, if it's a good boss, it's like, hey, everybody hates Tammy, just so you know. Like they should be cluing those people in on that stuff.
it just occurred to me that my actual boss is named Tammy, so no relation. That is not what I meant. What about you, Dave?
Like when I was in like middle school and high school, I absolutely loved motivational speakers. Like I absolutely loved it because like I never heard like adults talk like that. Like very rarely did you ever, because it was like all your teachers in class, they just got your lesson plan and they're like, we're gonna teach you about this, but like, and it was, I don't know, it was something about like it would, and it's a performance art, you know, where it's a lot like stand-up comedy. You have to be good at it, and it's very difficult to be good at it. So like I don't think I've really like watched much of like motivational speakers as an adult, maybe one or two, but like as like a young person, I loved it. Like, and I didn't even understand their message half the time because they're always like, "Don't get high and don't do drugs," and I was like, "What does getting high mean? Like, what are drugs?" Like, I thought drugs were like Tylenol and Advil. Like, I didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. So like the message was kind of over my head. But like when they were talking about like don't pick on people and be nice, I was like, oh okay. But I don't know. I enjoyed it, but maybe it was because we all got to go to the auditorium and got out of class. Um, I do know there's like one guy I saw like a YouTube video of his motivational. He's a motivational speaker. His name is Mark Marrow. He's a former professional wrestler in like WCW and WWE in like the 90s. And he just has like an amazing story. He's like he is the ultimate like performance art, and like wrestling is a performance, like a athletic performance. But like his whole story, he told his like life story, and it was super fascinating because he just talked about like how he went along in his life just doing what everyone else wanted him to do. Like he would do drugs, he would drink all the time,
And you
he
were
did
like, what are drugs?
steroids. Yeah,
No, it's fine. Tylenol. He had a headache.
yeah, and like he did steroids, and he did so many drugs. Like talks about how like he almost died like 3 times from overdosing, but somehow like he still survived. And his message was just like love your family and love the people around you. Stop like looking outward for like validation and trying to impress other people. Because I get like his one person in his life who loved him was his mom, and he talks about that, and like his message was so like freaking wholesome. It was so good, and like I really loved it. There's a YouTube video if you look up Mark Marrow like motivational speech. It's like 10 minutes or something, but it was really good. And like even like I rewatched it like this past week, and it's like it's definitely geared towards like high school kids. Like it's not like meant for me anymore, but like I still could like I really appreciated it still. I thought it was good.
Yeah, that's why I'm indifferent because like, they have a good message. It's just I don't know, it's hard because like you have all these asshole kids. They're like, oh, look at this fucking middle-aged fuck. Like, what is he gonna do? But okay, so it was really weird. This one time we had like this guy who was born without arms, and he was doing a motivational speech and stuff. And he was like, now I'm about to play the drums, but I'm gonna ask you all not to watch. And please, whatever you do, do not peek. We're gonna do an honor system. And I didn't peek, but I was also wondering, like, why? What is the point of us not looking at a man drumming with only his feet? Maybe I should have looked. I don't know, but it's haunted me.
Yeah,
Just had his hands tied behind his back. He just pulled them out.
He had no hands. They were
no, that's what Dave is saying.
he
It was a
pulled his
fake.
no, but like I know asshole kids, someone had to have peeked. And they were the smart ones. I don't know. I feel like I was drinking the Kool-Aid or some shit.
Yeah, that's bizarre. Like I thought it was gonna be like he'd do it for a while, maybe like see, like if you were not looking, you wouldn't even think that it was someone who didn't have hands. But the fact that there's then no like reveal or anything, it's just yeah, that's bizarre.
Yeah, and then the other one, there was another motivational speaker, and I just remember the joke because he's like, I wear Adidas shoes. I see some kids wearing that. They're like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, you know what Adidas means, don't you? And some people were like snickering. He's like, all day I dream of Stu, because his name was Stu. But some kids were like, all day I dream about sex or whatever, because that was the corn song that was out. And so it just didn't work. Like he started to get pushback from the kids, those asshole kids. Yeah.
Meddling kids.
Segue challenge.
I don't have a good segue, but my topic is actually pretty similar to this. Now looking back, and I will say I had mine like in the queue ready to go before I even really read what yours were. But mine is um, like generic positivity, like platitudes, and that's like a billboard that says, "You got this," or like specifically stuff that it's like a message that seems very specific, like you can do it, or we love you, or like stuff like that, where it's like anyone could have come by and read that sign. Like you don't mean this for me. Like it's I guess also very like the opposite of the t-shirt thing where it's like those shirts aren't directed at me. Um, and like in the same way, I feel like these messages are not directed at me, and therefore I feel nothing about them. Like, but I'm, it's not a hate, like, and like for some people, they're actually very useful. Like, my wife likes them. She's like, yeah, sometimes you're in a bad mood and you just see something that says you got this, and it just kind of makes you feel better, even if it was generic. And like, okay, well, I guess, as far as like things that could be written on a sign, like it's probably in the top third of goodness. Like what could be in there? Like that's a good use of that space. So overall, they're a positive thing to be in the world. I just they don't do anything for me personally, I guess.
Would it have to be very specific?
Yeah.
Like John Nemitz, who lives on whatever.
You're doing a great job driving, John.
Yeah. But don't let that go to your head. Well, I had good things come to those who wait, right? I've hated that saying that I created a joke out of it. Patience comes to he who waits. Because I'm like, what are we really saying here? Um, oh, always look at the bright side, because you're like, yeah, I guess. I mean, I personally try to be more positive, especially over the years.
Oh, that's
But
another lyric I love from that album. The bright side is blinding our eyes.
oh, oh shit. Okay. Oh, but the bright side of life on Life of Brian, that's a wonderful song, right?
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I should look at the bright side of life. But there's also stuff where it's like, does this count? Everything happens for a reason. Tons of
Oh, I hate that
girls,
one.
tons of girls on Facebook, when they end a relationship, that is the quote every woman says. It's crazy. Ugh. Uh, uh, oh, and then I'm not the biggest fan of this. I'm actually really torn. Um, it's all in God's plan. I'm like, that's doing nothing for me right now. I don't know.
You really think it's God's fault?
What do you have to say, Dave?
I totally agree. Like I was having this conversation with people at work where it's, everything happens for a reason. It's part of God's plan. And like I'm a Christian, I follow Christ. And I'm like, I'm trying to explain to them, I'm like, the bad shit that happens in life is not always part of God's plan. I'm like, God doesn't want you to like sin and do bad things. So when like Hitler and World War II happens and there's a Holocaust, that was not part of his plan. He didn't want that to happen. Like there's like when people like have like tragic stuff happen to them in their life, they're like, "Oh, it happened for a reason." And it's like, "No, like we live in an imperfect world and crazy random things happen." And it's not like I guess people find it comforting. Like I don't find that comforting at all to think like, oh, it happened for a reason. It's like, no, like the fact that like pesticides are like poisoning our water and people are getting sick and dying, that's not happening for a reason. That's just something horrible. um
But why does God want that?
but he doesn't.
I gotta
But like,
say, Dave, you've never really like, pushed any of your beliefs on me ever. Like we've talked about so many things over the years. We've never really talked about that. You've never really been, oh, but God says, and I'm pretty sure I said some horrible things about Christianity and shit. So thanks for that, man.
yeah, no, like I don't like everybody has their own belief and like I'm not all I know is like if someone like talked to you and told you and like you became a follower of Christ, I would love that. However, I do realize myself, I'm probably not going to be the messenger that's going to do that. So I'm not going to waste my time because I'm not a motivational speaker who's going to get a message across. I'm aware of my own limitations, so like I'm not even going to try and cross that bridge.
And so many people try it in the worst ways and the worst times. I
Yeah,
remember my
yeah,
wife
and
talking about one of her coworkers, like, um, who was Hindu, I think, had a child die, and the Christian coworker is saying all this stuff like, "Oh, it's all part of God's plan" and all this shit. And like, first of all, nobody who's lost a child wants to hear that. Second of all, like, they don't even like believe in the same God as you. So how in any way would this be comforting? Like, it just didn't make any sense.
Oof, got real deep
yeah,
there.
there's I well, I don't, there's like a Facebook post that like my sister posted, and it was like the same scenario where somebody lost their child very young, and then somebody was responding on a Facebook post saying like, well, everything happens for a reason. It was part of God's plan, and it was like it's like I don't know what you're trying to accomplish by saying this, but it's not helping anyone. Like, just shut your mouth, say you're sorry, send condolences. But like, some people are a little ignorant, and to I don't know how they come across. I don't know.
Boy.
But like, back to the topic at hand here. Um, John, like when you were explaining this, like the random like nice quote thing, um, there's a Burger King commercial, and there's some jingle that they're playing, and I don't know what the words are, but the very last line of the commercial is "You rule," and it's like, I rule, like, and I guess because it's like it's Burger King, and they're saying you're a king and you rule, so it's kind of a play on words. But at the same time, it's like they're just trying to be like send a positive message to me, like I rule. Where it's like, when I eat at Burger King, I feel like sad and depressed. Like I don't feel positive about like what I just did in any way. So to like try and like trick me into thinking that this is like, oh, I rule because I'm eating Burger King, it doesn't work.
You know what? I do rule, actually. Now that you mention it.
Oh man. One more segue challenge, right? We're near the end, I believe.
You can do it. Come up with one.
Oh, isn't that you could do it. It's all up to you. Okay. Mr. Mackey.
Mr. Mackey.
Yeah.
Drugs are bad. Shouldn't do it. Dave, are you up?
Yeah. I have my indifference. I am indifferent to like digital media versus physical media in video gaming. So like, ever since like I play like console mainly, and like, so like I have an Xbox and Nintendo Switch. I don't really play PC games because I just can't afford a good PC. But like with Xbox, they have two different versions of the Xbox, like the Series X, which is like the higher version, it's more expensive, and the Series S, which is the smaller version. It has like smaller like CPU in there. Um, but the S, and that's the one I own, is the smaller, cheaper one. It doesn't have a disk drive, so you can't like buy games for it. You can only download games off the internet. Um, the reason I bought it was because that was just the only one that was available when it first came out. There's just a shortage of like the better version, so I had to get the cheaper version. And I thought I would really hate not being able to buy physical games, but like I don't really mind it. The only like the downside is like the hard drive on your Xbox. You have to buy like an external hard drive because otherwise you have to delete games and then re-download games, especially if you have like a game like Call of Duty where it can like be like 180 gigs of space, which is kind of crazy, or like Grand Theft Auto. Those games are crazy, like size wise. Um, I, but like with my Nintendo Switch, I do love having the little game cartridges because I like the boxes and I like to display all the games that I have on the shelf. I love that. However, when I go to play a game and I'm like, oh shit, I don't have that cartridge in here. I have to pull it out. It like bugs me, and I'm like, ugh. I'm like, these other games I have, I just downloaded on here and I can just pull them up instantaneously. I don't have to swap out a cartridge. So I can just swap between my games and it's so convenient. Um, but like basically overall, I'm okay. Like at first, I really hated the idea of it because in my head, I was just like, I like to have the physical game because then when I sell it, I can go to a game store and sell it, or I can sell it on eBay and I can get money back for my purchase. And that's kind of like the last remaining argument. But I feel like I don't know. There's a convenience factor of not having to have a disc and like, oh, your disc got scratched, or you borrowed it to somebody and you didn't get it back, or you can't find it. Um, I don't know. Like I'm okay with just downloading games because now like my home internet is fast enough where I can download a large game in under an hour. So it's not a big deal to me anymore.
You're a gamer, John.
Yeah, I'm definitely a huge fan of physical games. Like I like the fact that, I have my original NES, which came out almost 40 years ago, and I can just go grab my cartridge and put it in and play the game. And um, I know like 40 years from now, that won't be the case with like the Nintendo Switch and stuff, just because um, a lot of games like you have to be online for it to work completely, or there's like so many updates that come out that like the version of the game that's on my little cartridge, um that's like the 1.0 buggy as hell version, and like just new content won't be included, so like it'll be a different experience than what I'm playing today. That being said, I own like a bunch of Switch games on physical media, and I still prefer to buy them that way. But I feel like this might be the last system where that's the case. Um, just because like it is annoying, like when you travel, like you choose like which games do I want to bring along. I remember my boss telling me he was on an airplane, and he had like the rectangular thing with the three Switch games in it, and he like dropped it and it went like in between the seat and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, there goes $180."
Oh no.
I think he got it back, but it's just like insane how much those are. But one thing that is nice is like you you can buy a game used, play it, and then sell it for the same price you bought it for if you don't like it or if you don't want to keep it. Where um, you download a game, you're paying full price, and I guess you have like some sort of refund window, but I don't know how hard that is to actually take advantage of. Um, I have bought like a few like collector's box games of games that I really like Hollow Knight, where it comes like with like a little figurine and that kind of stuff in it, which I think is kind of fun. Um, but then it's like I just, like, oh, you resale value, you got to keep everything nice. So then I don't actually like put out the poster or, any of that stuff. So it's just like, oh, I just paid a lot for a box of stuff that I barely ever look at, which is kind of a waste. But
Uh, so wait, Dave, you said you have an Xbox and a Nintendo Switch. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
John, what do you have? What consoles do you have?
um, pretty much only Nintendo stuff. So like all the different generations of that. But I have a PS2 for a couple like random Mega Man and Castlevania games that I wanted to play. But other than that, I've pretty much only played like Nintendo systems.
Oh, okay, because like that was the war, right? PS versus Xbox back in the day, back in high school, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I own an Xbox now. I owned a Nintendo. I remember classic Nintendo growing up. And then Sega Dreamcast. I like fucking Sega Dreamcast. Is Sega even
I did
around
too.
anymore?
No, I think they
They just
got
make games.
acquired
Just
by, yeah,
Oh,
I
by
think
really?
Nintendo or
Microsoft
something.
acquired them. So
Uh,
like
who's
so
that
like
though?
the
Is that Xbox
Microsoft?
or PlayStation?
Yeah, that's Xbox.
Oh, okay.
So like
Okay.
Microsoft acquired Sega, but like it's not like the same people who were making the games back in the day work there. So
Right, and
I'm
like,
pretty
because like there's like the Mario and Sonic at the Olympics games and those
Oh
things, like,
yeah.
so that made me think that maybe Nintendo acquired them, but yeah, honestly, I don't even
or
know.
maybe it was Nintendo. I don't because they bought it and it's just like they own that intellectual property.
Yeah,
So it's like they can make games and just let anybody else use them. Yeah, maybe Nintendo owns it. Um, but something you were saying, John, about like how games nowadays, this is my biggest gripe with video games, is how they release a game and it's not like 100% complete. It was like they made like 70% of the game, and then you have to download all these updates that fix all the bugs and the errors in the games, and then they add on more levels. And like if you're it's so maddening to me because I'm like, if I'm paying $60 or $70 for a video game, like why is the whole game not ready? Like you guys come out with this, it's some of these games, they come out with a new one every year. If you're playing like Madden or like some of these sports franchises, and they come out with a new one every year, or like Call of Duty, there's a new one every year. It's like you guys know when the release date is, like have the levels ready and just come out with it. And like I'm okay with like occasional updates that do like little things, but when they have it like, oh, here's an update and it costs $20 to have the season pass to get all the new levels. And it's like we're releasing 3 levels, and then in 2 months we're going to release 3 more, and then they want you to pay $20 each time to add on to the game you already paid for. Just it's such a ripoff to me. It feels like they're scamming me.
yeah, and like you
Uh-uh.
put in your cartridge or your disc like on release day, and somehow there's like an hour's worth of updates you need to download.
Yeah.
Your Nintendo, John. Okay, so if I were to buy whatever the newest version, can I download old games like Paperboy and Mario?
Yes, a lot of them. They have like the NES Virtual Console, and they have like many, but not all classic games they have on it. So,
Okay.
but
And
then that's like
it's like
a
a
monthly
subscription
subscription.
service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because there's games that I still think about, but I'm like, I don't own a Nintendo anymore. And again, with the Sega Dreamcast, like I love Sega Dreamcast. There's so many unique games that were on there, but apparently it was a dud back in the day. So yeah, bought
Yeah,
by
I
their
feel like that.
rivals.
I feel like the Dreamcast is seen by like in the modern day, it's like the best system that nobody bought,
Really?
basically. Yeah.
Oh, so I am a gamer at heart. Ah, yeah.
That's right.
I bought one, but and when I bought it, like it was already announced that were like discontinuing making games for it. And like they dropped the price down to $100. And I was just like, I'm still buying it because I knew there was like Crazy Taxi, Soul
Yeah.
Calibur, um, Shenmue was like one of the best RPG games I've ever played, where you play this young kid walking around the city, and it's such a great game. And they've come out with sequels to that. But like Dreamcast had so many like good, innovative, like fun games.
What was that
And
rollerblading graffiti game?
yeah, Jet Force Grind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game I think it was yeah, or no, Jet Set Radio, Jet Grind Radio. I don't remember.
Some combination of those words for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that game was really cool. It like but the problem was it was just like bad timing because like PlayStation 2 came out, um and it was more powerful, and it had so many different like developer companies making games for it that it kind of just like Sega couldn't like exist at that moment in time. They were just a little behind. But like a lot of the games were so innovative that like that little window before the PlayStation 2 And at the end of like Nintendo 64 and PlayStation 1, the Dreamcast, like the graphics were so much better. Like you would play Tony Hawk Pro Skater on a Dreamcast because the graphics were so great. And like any of those games that were on multiple consoles, if you could buy that for the Dreamcast, that was the best version of the game you could play.
Yeah, Sega Dreamcast. Bass fishing was great.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah, you played that. Awesome.
I love
And
that one.
and then the actual Sonic game where like you follow his point of view. It's not a scroller or whatever, 2D scroller. You actually follow him, and it was so exhilarating playing that game. That was fucking awesome. And finally, uh Hydro Thunder. I love Hydro Thunder.
Mm.
Yeah. Damn near unbeatable. Yeah, great. Well, any other games, or should we? It's the arcade closing.
I
It's
think the
getting
arcade's
dark.
closing. I did love like SSX, the snowboarding game.
Yes, SSX
That game was,
Tricky specifically.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That was awesome.
on this Xbox, I looked up SSX, and they offered the first one and the third one, but not Tricky. And Tricky is by far the best. I played the third one, and it's more realistic looking, but it's not as fun. Tricky
And
is
like this,
one of the
and the
best.
soundtrack was so great for that game.
Yes. Oh man. Uh, like, subscribe, comment. This was a few Goldilock Bears. Go to a few Goldilock Bears podcast. I mean, web. Fuck. Go to the website. All right, and it's
A
not
few
spelled correctly.
GoldilockBears.com.
Yeah. Don't. What's gonna happen if they spell out Goldilocks Bears, John? What happens?
I don't know. They get a error probably. Although now our enemies are going to register that domain and steal our viewers.
To have enemies, we need. Yeah, we need viewers. Great enemies, for fuck's sakes. But anyways, like, subscribe, comment if you're on YouTube. This was Vincent Cloud.
Leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. This is John Nemitz.
And this is David Lauer.
What could they do? Could they subscribe to us on their smartwatches, perhaps? I guess not.